All right. So this is again an attempt to address some of the common themes that I notice in the comments, and I know this all too well. This function, this pattern, this illusion, and it seems so real. It seems so real until it doesn't. There was someone who posted the comment. I probably should have looked at the name. I'll find it and tag it. Expressing a kind of frustration, burnout with the path, so to speak, or the seeking, awakening, nothing happening. And it gets so frustrating. You get a kind of a burnout with it. The contraction. It's a contraction. It's and it doesn't seem like it when you're in it, but it's the opposite of this that I talk about. It's the complete opposite. And for some people that just has to express, it has to build up to a kind of critical point where something just flips. It could happen that way, it can happen anyway. It could be a moment of simple clarity when this is just forgotten about. I mean, I think I mentioned in this comment that it might be a good idea to, feeling like this, feeling frustration with this awakening thing, might be a good idea to just give up on it. Just stop. Just forget about it. I just get the feeling that that's the best thing to do. Because when you're seeking, when we hear about this, and when you hear me talking, the way it is taken, the way it sounds, especially my earlier videos, the self, the mind, the seeker takes that and then takes it and looks for an awakening, and it never finds it. It just keeps looking. It just keeps going. That thing just never ends. It just keeps going. And it's the same seeking as any other seeking, just with a new context, a new context, a new idea, a new theme. That's the thing that we're looking to get rid of because we know it's uncomfortable. But it adapts itself to a spiritual theme and then continues the same function, the same process. How many times do you hear that this is already the case? How many times do you hear that you are what you're seeking? How many times do you hear you can't find it? Or ultimately, there is no awakening. Awakening isn't an event, and it doesn't happen to you. It doesn't happen in time. It's not an attainment. How many times do you hear that you need to stop to see it? And it's not particularly you that's seeing it. It is already the case that it can't be found because it doesn't need to be found because it's already here. The mind can't hear that. It just can't. It'll make a concept of it And the concept of it isn't it. Of course it's not it. But that's the only thing it can do. And I know this all too well. It's not a looking for, it's a stopping, it's a giving up, it's a release, it's a letting go, a forgetting of something, a clarity on something that seemed real that's then forgotten about. Here we go, let's try this. Just stop, do this now, just stop. Move into the sensations, anything. Physical sensations, sight, sound. Move into the sensations now. Watch the mind. Watch for thought. Focus entirely on a sensation. Your full attention. What will be the next story? What will be the next narrative? What will be the next thought? And see how long it takes for the mind to distract you with a thought about something, anything, doesn't matter. Do it now. When it comes, what's the mind saying? Is the mind saying something? Is it telling you something? Is it thinking about something? Is it trying to figure something out? Is there a thought there that just happens, even though we consciously move our attention to the sensations? To try again. Move to the sensations and watch what the mind says, what narrative pops up, what thought pops up. Go. So, when you notice the thought, when you notice the narrative, when you notice the mind talking about something, that's it. That's the whole thing. That's the obscuration. That's the thing that's saying that you're not awake, that this is something that you're going to get in time, that this is something that's going to happen to you. It doesn't happen like that. It never happens. When that's noticed, then bring the attention straight back to the sensations. Go again. Here's a distraction. The police are raiding someone's house, am I right? It's a perfect excuse to start thinking about stuff. Now, when you notice that thought as a thought, when you're attempting to focus your attention on the sensations, does it, and then when that's noticed, the clarity comes back, the attention comes back to the sensations. Does it feel like you're doing that? Does it feel like that's something that's done by you? That itself is another thought. That's another story. That's another obscuration. There's no you that's doing that. There's no you that's choosing to bring the attention back to the sensation. There's no you that's choosing to disidentify from thought. All it is awakeness, noticing something. So if you can see that the you that says, I'm not getting this, the you that says, I was lost in thought, the seeming sense of a you that chooses to, or has the control to bring the attention, or notice a thought, and then consciously bring the attention back to the sensation, is itself another thought. And just keep going with it. Stop. Watch for the next thought. Move the attention into sensation. And watch for the movement. Watch for the process. Watch for the story. You can't choose to become clear on this. It's not a choice, it's not an action, it's a stopping. It's an expanding, it's awakeness. Waking up to itself, noticing something about the nature of itself. And there's nothing you can do about it, you can't be controlled. Just the clarity, just the noticing is all that's needed. That's it. So you can just relax into it. You can just relax. The pressure is gone. The journey's gone. The journey's done. Just stop. Just stop and wait. Stop and watch. Every time a thought comes up, just become more and more clear about what is a thought. What story is the mind telling? What is the mind saying about me, my awakening, my thought, my clarity, so on and so on, so on. Just keep going with it. It doesn't have to be heavy. It doesn't have to be difficult. The difficulty, the problem of it is another thought. It's all just thought. It's all just thought. If there's a sensation there, if there's an emotion there, a feeling there, as a sensation, go straight to that. And then watch for thought. What is the mind saying about the reason for this, the story about this? You can see that it's all just thought. Seems no one's home with this drug raid. So it's not the problem arises as an act of creation. The problem of me arises spontaneously now, actively. It's actively created in the moment as one thought. If you can see that, the whole story, the whole narrative becomes a farce, because it's only suggested in one thought that spontaneously appears without your control. Now all you need to do is see it. All you need to do is nothing. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to do anything. It's not a doing, it's more of an undoing. So it can be a helpful reminder when, say you seem to be lost in the narrative that says, this is frustrating, when am I going to get this, why am I not awake? And I've said many times that that's just a story, that's not real, that's the illusion, that's the identification. When you notice that, just release it, just release that whole thing. See that now that it's one thought. All it is just one thought. That's it. It can help to, let's say anchor to direct experience, anchor to the sensations, the breath. The breath happens now. Become aware of it. Breathe in, breathe out. put your attention in the breath. Now your attention is in the present moment, and then just watch. What is the next thought? What is the next distraction? What is the next buy-in to a story about what this is, what this means? Or labelling myself as the experiencer as awake or not awake, having an awakening, looking forward to an awakening, waiting for an awakening, or not having had one yet. That's all bullshit. That's all nonsense. How many times have you heard or I've said that awakeness is awake already? Awakeness is here already. That one thought experience that appears now makes it seem like that's not the case, but that's even that is made of awakeness. That is awakeness. There's nothing but awakeness. Look for the thoughts. Look for what's tied into thoughts, what makes the thoughts and what they're saying, the story about it, seem true, because it's not true. You're already awake. So it's done. It's about noticing. If there's a fascination rather than a desperation, if there's an attentive interest in this, in noticing, what can you notice about thought? Forget about attaining something, forget about waking up. What can you notice? What can be noticed? Or what, as you, awakeness, can be noticed, pardon me, about thought? That's it. Forget about the journey, forget about the path, forget about something in the future that you hear all the time that's going to happen to you, and then it clicks, and then permanently that's you awake. It's just, none of that's true. It's just not true. It's just a lot of shite. It's just a lot of shite. It's just a story. Just a story. And I made the mistake in my earlier videos. I need to talk a certain way about this. So that's why it's deceptive, because the mind hears something, and it. See, when you listen to something, I say, as you've been watching this video, watch the mind too. Watch the way the mind frames what I'm saying in a context. So when I say, someone was asking before, if it's so simple, if it's so obvious, then why isn't everyone awake? Everyone is awake. It just seems like in your personal story you're not awake. So when I say that, when I say it's simple, even the term simplicity, obviousness, when I say those words, what does your mind make an image of that as? What does it frame that as an image? As something, as a representation, understanding of what I'm saying. It's not that. It's more, even simplicity. Think of the most simple thing you can. That is complicated compared to this. It's before that movement, that process, that movement out into seeking, let's say, into looking for something, is an action, is an active thing that happens as a thought experience now. That what I'm pointing to is before that. So if you're moving after that and looking out and searching for something, you've already missed it. In a way, you can't miss this. It's not missable. You can't find this. It's not findable. Does that just sound like nonsense? To the mind, yes, it does. So don't try and think about it. Don't think about it. It's here already, before the thought. Any thought that comes. Let's try again. Let's go again. Move your attention to the sensation. Move your attention just to the simple sense of being now. How long before some mind activity pops up? It could be about nonsense, it could be about what I'm talking about. That's it, that's the whole thing, that one that one thought experience. That in it suggests time, but it doesn't happen in time. That thought experience doesn't happen in time. There's no time in that, other than an illusion that's suggested in the thought. There's no me in that, other than an illusion that's suggested in the thought. The me that I'm pointing to is before all that, and it's not a me, but it might be what feels like you. It feels like life, your life. It's right there. It's right there. Just don't move from it. And when you come back to that, when you've tasted that, when that becomes interesting and not something that's habitually overlooked because the thought experience, the story is more interesting than that, when that becomes interesting, then you can, let's say, stay there. Then that opens up. That opens up a space. And it's a dilation, it's a relaxation, it's a letting go. It's not an activity. It's not something you're doing. Like I said, even the noticing of the thought and then the coming back to the sensation, coming back to the simple sense of being, isn't something you're doing. Don't try and control it. It can't be controlled, or the control is just another story, just another illusion. So I totally get and I totally feel for those who are in the comments expressing their frustration with this. And maybe a certain amount of frustration is just meant to happen. But the seeking, the frustration, the contraction, when this clarifies, you'll see that search, that path, that journey, was never actually needed. It was never really needed. If it happens, it happens, and that's fine, but it was never really needed. What is going on here? So I've got police behind me, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 police over there. 2 in the car behind me. So I don't know what's going on. Might hang about and see what happens. Anyway, that'll do for now, and I'll talk to you next time.